mean, in comparison.
Oh, I know. Well, and that's, I know. That I wanted to, that's one reason why. Again, these are
it's cool. It's like.
I want to build something more than that, right?
In my opinion, if you're making a spear or a two-handed weapon, I mean, I know the limit's like 7.5 now, 7.5, and then it's like 7 pounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah. I think that the optimum size for a pole should be, if you're standing relaxed with your arms spread, the half should be no longer than that. Because that's really all you can effectively use if you're going to be spinning it around. Any longer than that, it starts to get cumbersome and weird. And if you want a really fast rotation, and you also want to keep the head pretty minimal. I mean, you could do some artsy stuff, and you can add like foam stuff, and you can do clackers. If you start adding clackers, the weight of the head like doubles. So you really want to. I mean, those are cool looking, but as far as like how effective that is when you're out and I mean, I need to slash you and poke, and all I need is those basic elements. And I mean, yeah, you could probably coat this with leather, and you could do all sorts of pretty stuff, but. This is just like the basic, get the job done, utility kind of weapon, definitely. But, say again? Yeah, that's just tape up there. I mean, I got it planed, and then what I generally do is like the section that I'm kind of breaking away from planed, I'll have an unplaned section at the tip, like I'll come up and then it's not planed top. So you definitely have blade definition. And I do like that because I like to be able to feel the blade edge. When I go to turn, I like to be able to feather the blade so I'm not flatting somebody. You know, that I see that all the time. I see people with just like round swords, round weapons, and they never do any planing on them. And then you can't really define where the cutting edge is, and it looks really hokey. And you go slap like that, it's like, okay, it's not playing tag with sticks. You're supposed to actually be using a bladed weapon, and you would hit me with the blade on the flat side. So, you know, that's when the head construction like that is really nice, because then it's very defined, but it's definitely going to be impinging on your actual usage. You'll look pretty, it'll look cool, but it's not going to be very effective as far as like spinning speed. Let me, first of all, let's just start at the starting position. And I can turn around this way if that helps you kind of transpose things. But what I like to do is I like to keep one hand close in my hip, basically, and I always leave a little bit extra. I don't put my hand on the complete end. I like to leave myself a little reserve. So between like 6 to 10 inches from the end, because if I go out here like this, or I go to thrust, I want to be able to come back and get a little bit more if I need it. So you play the range, essentially your maximum range, and then you got a little bit of extra if you need it later on. So hold a little in reserve, because people know where your actual maximum range is. It's going to be easy for them to play on that. You're the one who's going to be the range master who can control that. So I keep it tight into my hip, and this hand, I basically just let the pole rest in my palm. So I go palm up, and then I hook my thumb across the top. Now, I let this just kind of float, because you're going to be doing a lot of full cueing and stuff here, and this is kind of going to be your kind of like, each hand can be like a fine adjustment. But what really is nice is like, if you use the back hand is like your gross adjustment, and your front hand is kind of your fine adjustment. Okay? So like if I'm going to do a gross movement, I mean, I don't yard my hand this way or that way. I just turn the back hand. And you can put a lot of force without moving that front hand hardly at all. And you'll notice I'm not standing like this or like this really open. And the reason that is that this area right here, since that's your center, it's hard to move your center. So you really want to keep like the elbow down and turn sideways, so that if anybody's going to thrust at you, this is like the most common area to thrust at. Like if you're standing, I mean, the most common area is to take it and thrust right here at the hip. If you're standing too open like that, so I advocate being a little bit sideways. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. It is totally. You're right though. I mean, like I was saying in the beginning, it's directly applicable. The thing is though, is that you get two hands to do all your control, and then you get to slash in ways you never could. It's worth like a kid. I've got my pull out here. Everything is very tight to the center of my body if I can do that. I'm not going to get really far away like this. I mean, I can reach, but generally this foot is forward, and I'm just going to kind of get in a nice, relaxed kind of state. And one of the things that people are going to try to do right off the bat is, this is usually my test of how good a person is with a pole. Is I mean, I can usually tell by how they're standing with it, but if they present, like if you're in a right-handed, if you're like this, the weakest point on this is actually when you're moving out of the grip. So what I'll do is I'll stand here and I kind of go, I'm going to get the weapon. So I'll stand here and I'm getting ready to go and I'll go like, and I'll crack their weapon and I'll move it out of their grip. If they don't quite pull very often, it's just going to go flying out of their hand. They're going to lose their grip. So
do you do that mostly with your backhand?
Yeah, most of that is, so the front part is kind of like, is the fulcrum. Yeah. Here's where I'm kind of putting I'm putting most of the power into it with the back. So I mean, we'll do different stuff because I'm also doing, that's what I'm saying, is it's hard to like show you the complex gyrations because you could go like this and the front arm is not really moving very much. But then again, I can go like this, and then I can move the front arm instead. So like the front, it could be a setup. I could go like bam on top like this, and then I could use the front hand. I could pull, as I'm pull cueing it, as I'm sliding it forward, I'm pushing it with my front hand. So, but my set position is to basically use this as my pivot and not really move it very much, keep it in my guard position, and do most of my power back here. So if you think about it, I mean, if I'm going to move something and I want to pry it up with a lever, I'm going to put my fulcrum point or a stone or something close to the object, and I'm going to pry it underneath, and like the stone is going to be like here, and then I'm going to have the longer lever, and I'm going to reach down on it. So if you think of the front hand as kind of where the stone is, and then this is the lever, that's where I'm going to get all that power. So so the first one is kind of like just getting into that ready position and doing like that little hook, like that. I mean, you don't have to necessarily do it. Like right now, he's holding it opposite, you know. So it's a little bit harder to do. A lot of guys will come up and they're holding the mirror. Yeah, like that, and it's much easier to because I mean from there you can just rotate your body and whack. I like to do that as much as possible. If I'm like standing in this position and I've got my hands on either side of my hips, I want to keep it in that close rotation because that's going to be great. You're going to have a lot of power in that. So like if you think about this position is just basically standing like that, but you've got this hand's down and this hand's up on your hips. When I come into fight, I'm pulling it all from the hips when I'm rolling, except for when I'm going to range. I can go to range here, or I can just push away from me. But generally what's going to happen is as my hands go to one end, what that's going to guarantee is that I have a slower rotation. Once my hands are together, it's going to be hard for me to rotate. So what I want to do is step in, I'll thrust, and then I'll step in on it like this and I'll draw it back. I kind of move my body into the space. So like I'll go like thrust, and then I'll move in with my outside leg because I'm starting from this position, and I'll thrust, I'll bring this one in, and then suck the weapon back. Now if you start to engage me, then I'll do a roll, or we'll get into the bolognese. It is. I'm using the range of the weapon to